Welcome in to a little good cop, bad cop here on Rover Sports. Me, my friend Dave Ulak, and of course the sports doc is back. He's back. He survived.
How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
So Dave, why don't you say the proposal? You wanted Bruce in here. Why don't you say the proposal here that you had about the draft?
Yeah. So basically, I've listened the last few weeks, and Tua Tagovailoa would be the main subject for this. You hear all these teams are doing their Zoom meetings, this, that, the other thing. If it was me and I'm the NFL, wouldn't it make all the sense in the world to move the draft back 2, 3, 4 weeks when the restrictions become, I would say, looser around the country, when people can move, people can travel, and draft prospects can not only work out for teams, but get in front of medical doctors, their own team doctors and things like that. And yet it seems like Roger Goodell wants to have this draft come hell or high water April 25th and has basically said you are not allowed to comment it as a team. So we're having this draft come hell or high water, but it seems like a lot of teams are in the dark on a lot of players' injury situations. My proposal would be move the draft back to June.
Spencer, who's going to be making the argument?
So I'm making the argument. So he's saying that the draft should be pushed back, but I'm saying that the draft I'm saying that it's appropriate time because I don't know when the draft would be held if you're proposing to push it back. But the thing is here, Bruce, is that you're a guy, you're a medical professional. And do you think that this country can get back like in maybe May? Do you think it's wise that the NFL is doing this, is having this draft right now where you can't see these players? I mean, what is your take on the draft date and what Goodell is doing here?
Yeah, this actually can see both of us now. In my opinion, okay, I think that doing the draft date virtually as scheduled is good, and I don't see a detriment. So I'm going to respond to Dave's critique. Firstly, these players have already played. You know how they play football. You know their injury history. It's true you're not able to do individual exams on each particular person. And of course, Tua would be the one that is the biggest wild card here because he actually flunked 2 physical exams. I think you might have known that. But in the other way, his agents obviously knew that. So they actually had, and his agent actually is Lee Steinberg, who is a friend of ours. But then he had him examined by one team physician, and all 32 teams had input, and apparently he passed that. So Tua is an unusual situation. But basically, there's no detriment. In other words, what you know is what you know. Right now, the world is starved for sports, and the NFL loves nothing more than publicity and money. It's a money machine. And therefore, the fact that they could launch this draft safely and basically have cameras in everybody's homes, or maybe just, I think it's just going to be video, no audio. It's going to be riveting. And I think that it's about one of the only things you could do in sports. So I think there's no that if you're saying it, the only reason to push it back is because you might say, well, the season isn't going to start on time. I think maybe that's Dave's argument. Season's going to be pushed back. Why do you have to force the draft now? Why don't you push it back? That's one of his arguments. And the second argument is you can't work out players. You can't do medical exams. There are true points. But I think if we look at the benefit of doing the draft, basically choosing players, and then all the buzz that surrounds that on the individual teams and all that buzz and interviewing players and all the speculation is going to be great for sports, feeding frenzy for every sports media outlet, including us. So I'm in favor of keeping the draft what it is. But in fairness, Dave, you're up for a rebuttal as to what I just said.
No, and honestly, from a doctor, it's hard to know from the outside. You always hear, every doctors have different opinions. So it's actually refreshing to hear that Tua had an evaluation with like all 32 teams' input and being cleared in the same way or whatnot. Then my next thing would be, as you said, the season is not going to start on time, more likely than not. The training camps are all going to be pushed back. Everything's going to be pushed back. So I do understand that it is the grandiose stage. Nothing else is going on. It's kind of like similar to why ESPN moved up that Michael Jordan documentary, because they have the huge stage and there is nothing else to look forward to. And then I would think my next argument for moving the draft back is I think that these teams are extremely blind. So take the injury in the history out of it. Where they would be blind is they don't get to really ever individually get a relationship with the guys. They get 30 meetings. So you're doing this via Zoom where I could say in the comfort of your own home compared to you're in the room with them. They can really pound away the questions with you, make you uncomfortable, find out how you react under pressure. Instead, you're in Zoom and from what I'm hearing, with no cards in the backgrounds from agents, everything's very comfortable. You're not going to fail a question. So, I think some teams are a little bit more blind, but I do agree. The tape is a tape. And I think where it does hurt are the smaller college guys and things like that. But your mainstream guys are not going to be hurt by this draft process.
I agree with you there. And looking at your, these are good points to be made. But the question is, they have all the film. So basically, look at the data they have on every player. They have all of their college films. They've interviewed coaches, the college coaches. The college coaches you consider biased because they always want their guys to be drafted. It helps their program. You're probably able to interview certain people around the players, let's say assistant coaches, other players, maybe players that played with the player, unlike the NBA where it's one and done. They could interview guys that are already in the league that played with the guy to talk about his character. And, it might not be a Guantanamo interrogation that you might like, but the fact is you're still talking to the guy. It's unlimited. The guy's at home. You could talk to the guy for hours. You could ask him questions. He can't, he can't like talk to his agent and say, "Oh, I gotta use the bathroom. I'll be back in 2 hours."
I actually did, but he could cheat. He could have the agent like showing him the cards, or his coaches showing him the cards, like no cards in the background.
Okay, so in other words, if I ask you a question, okay, this is gonna be fun just for a moment. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Okay, you're what's his name? Chase
Young.
Chase Young. Okay, I want you to answer the question, but I want you. Imagine that your agent's there. I want you, you're on camera now, and this will only be like 30-second answer. Okay. I don't want you to think for yourself, but I want you.
We have like a green screen here.
I don't want you to think for yourself. Here we got an alien coming in. I am not an animal, but and I am the alphabet.
Why don't you ask?
Let me just ask a question. But you make the argument that an agent could help out. It could job the process. So ready? Here we go.
Ask it.
Chase Young. But I want you to purposefully not choose your own answer, but let the individual, the imaginary agent, see how he can give you hieroglyphics. Can he bang on the trash can? He's going to bang on the trash can for you.
Astros figured it out.
Here we go. Okay, ready? Okay, I'm going to ask. Okay. I want to know how many different positions can you play on the field, and why are you the best player in the draft other than Joe Burrow, who will be drafted first and not you? Go right ahead. You have 30 seconds. And look at the camera right there. Well,
okay. So,
look at the camera.
So the question is, did you ask multiple positions? Can you just repeat?
Could you play?
The service kind of blank.
Okay. Could you play multiple? Could you play multiple positions, and why? And why you're the best player in the draft? Okay, but
yes,
but there's a camera right there. Okay, see that? That's where our guys are.
I can play
the New York
multiple
Jets.
positions, and
look at the camera.
And I can play multiple positions. I can do everything on the field. I'm a do-it-all type of player, and you're gonna get my best every single day, and I'm very versatile.
That's a real cliche answer. Do better than that. That's very cliche.
You're saying that's cliche?
Yeah.
How else would you like to answer that?
No. I'm not pleased with it.
I'm a defensive
end.
end.
So I'm turning up the heat here.
I'm a defensive end.
Yeah. Well,
and
we knew that.
I get to the quarterback every single play. I led the NCAA in sacks. Why wouldn't you want to get me?
Please don't yell. Don't yell, please. That's not.
Okay,
You're not putting
fine.
yourself in a good light. By the way, my cat knows you're a defensive end.
I'm the fastest defensive lineman I'm the fastest defensive lineman in the country.
You didn't answer the rest of the question. You only have 30 seconds.
I play defensive end. That's
Why are you the
only
best player in the
position.
country? Why are you better than Joe Burrow? Tell me about your national championship win. Go ahead.
Nobody can block me.
Okay, did you win the national championship?
Our whole team was not as good as LSU.
How did you play against LSU?
Just on your team
That
of
was
the
your
bus.
worst
I
game.
didn't play against
That was your worst game.
I didn't play against LSU.
Why?
I played
Why?
against
Because you're holding
Clemson.
out?
I played against Clemson.
Okay, I think I proved my point. I think you
I
can
got
turn the heat on if you had
But
the
that
right.
was
If you have the
ridiculous.
right
Come
kind of
on.
asshole.
I wouldn't want to play.
If you have the right kind of
asshole.
asshole, you could put anybody under heat.
No, but it wouldn't be. If I try to do it to Dave, then because he's in.
No, we're good.
Dave's too
There's
nice.
too much fire.
I don't know Dave Schools. I know you.
No, but I can always say that I didn't get the question or give me a moment.
Well, point is, you had no time to look at your agent. And,
I did at first when I said repeat the question.
well, was he able to give you the answer?
But
Do you have cue cards?
Hey,
You know what he
this
did?
isn't good because you're right next to me.
But you know what he
here.
did? That's right. He came directly from Wuhan with Chinese letters. Sorry, that's a bad joke. Very
Yeah,
important
That
taste.
was fun.
So is there another question? So I think I
So you're
personally,
all right with the draft.
I'm all right with the
This
draft.
green
what it is.
screen. I gotta fix it.
What if a green screen? There is no green screen. You know, if we had a green screen, it'd be nice. But we're having what we call pixelation.
Here, I'll do stop video.
Stop.
Start. Does it look better?
There's a little green
Yeah.
on there, but you're fine. Looks better.
Well, it looks better for now. Well, you
All right,
obviously-
all right. So Dave, here's the next issue we're gonna do with a little good cop, bad cop. And actually, can we do a hypothetical before we
Of
go
course,
into our
whatever
next
you want,
topic?
whatever you want.
So Bruce, I'll ask you this here, okay?
Mhm.
I'll just get blocked out by the mic every time.
Stop sucking that thing.
I'm gonna cut that.
So
So-
yeah.
Welcome back into Rover Sports, and Bruce, I wanted to ask you. So, if the NFL and college football, say that it gets pushed back to November or something, right?
Yeah.
Say that college football doesn't start till December. One, it's going to be very cold. Two, it's going to go into college basketball. And three, recruiting is going to get messed up because these college coaches got to hit the road for recruiting. And then with college football as well, with eligibility and things of that nature, how do you sort it out if college football starts in like December? How do you sort out recruiting?
Okay, I'm confused. So the premise is that college football and pro football are going to start in November?
Yes, that start in November and go till February. So then,
I don't see
what
it.
about National Signing Day?
Okay, let me take a broader view of your question. I don't think it's feasible. I just don't think it's feasible because so much of the country is in dead winter. We don't live in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so that's number one. It's a geological fact. You're not going to get any fans, even if you allow fans to come in. Do you want to start game one in like November 30th and go through a frigid winter? Even, so the whole Northeast in the Midwest and most of the country is going to be a dead cold winter. I disagree with the premise.
Well, here's the
That's
thing.
not going to work.
Say
It's not
that
gonna work.
players on the other team have coronavirus. It's football. It's a contact sport. I mean, Dave, is the NCAA under could you sue the NCAA for that kind of issue?
But I think it can't be. I mean, if the league can't get started, okay, in my opinion, if either of the college football or NFL can't get started by, let's say, end of September, October, even if it's a very shortened season, but it's really difficult because you're going to run into the dead of winter. The Super Bowl is slated in when it is, and it's going to be weird. So I just think there's a good chance that unless there is some way to get a rapid test, so literally you'd have to get a rapid test in 5 minutes, and every player on the team is rapid tested. It's 100% accurate. Every coach is going to be 100% accurate. And both teams are 100% accurate, and it goes in an empty stadium. And if you do that with every game, whenever that can happen, and then you have a shortened season for both of them, and probably shortened playoffs, and there's a lot of hypotheticals.
Well,
Let me finish. That's the only hypothetical way that I see them playing football, and that's from a scientific standpoint.
But Doc, if you don't have any players in the stands, I think that
Players
the
in the stands? I know you
fans in the
misspoke.
stands.
Sorry, I'm still grilling you from the Chase Young.
if you don't have any fans, I think that these colleges are going to lose so much money that why wouldn't you at least wait till November to try to play football with fans in the seats in November?
I disagree. I believe that there are so many that the money is not only in ticket value. In fact, it's a very small amount. The money is in corporate sponsors, which will still be there, and they can still provide commercial sponsorship. The viewers are going to be so rabid for any kind of sports. It's going to be just a weird year. Like, you might have the NBA playoffs running into the NFL. I mean, it's going to be a complete free-for-all, unheard of, like we've never seen before. But if they can literally play NFL football games, I don't care if they play them anywhere. People love to watch NFL football. Or if they take them to an island, the same island they filmed Survivor,
Right.
and they have one football stadium, and they fly people on a jet, and everybody is safe, and they play that game on somewhere in American Samoa. Guess what? Fans or no fans, people will watch it. Their eyes will be on the game. Commercials will be sold, and especially even casual fans who never watch football will be watching. And you know what? It'll be just like a strike year. It'll be like when you had the scabs. You guys are young, but when they had replacement players, yeah, it was terrible football. And yeah, the stadiums were almost empty, but you know what? They still played. And, I bet if you ask the NFL, it was so curious, such an oddity. They probably are happier with that than zero, with nothing at all, no revenues. That's my answer. It's a complicated question.
Here would be my concern. I'm gonna cry for the person that no one will ever cry for, billionaire owner, who will now say, I have no ticket revenue. And that's going to be, 150 to $200 million. And when you get done with the 8, 10, 20 game, 10 game season, the 8, 10 game season, what was it say? Just got distracted.
Sorry.
No, it's not you. Someone came in.
You were talking about the owner.
You were talking about
the owners. Okay, sorry.
The owners who would be losing revenue because of an empty stadium. So that's your
empty stadiums.
And, that point.
Okay. So basically, long story short, before we go into a big one, are these players going to be willing to take any salary concession? Because these guys have basically been unwilling to take any pay cut. I mean, I've been seeing soccer all around the world. These guys are taking 70% pay cuts right now. Basketball around the world, guys are taking major pay cuts. It seems like in the NBA, there is a complete unwillingness to take a pay cut of $1. The MLB, they won't take a pay cut of $1. And the NFL, they're staying steadfast. Even if we play in empty stadiums, we're not going to take a pay cut. At what point do the owners say, we're not going to put on the games if the pay cuts aren't taken? That's going to be interesting.
I think it's interesting. Let me comment. I want Spencer's opinion, but my opinion is this, that they're not going to be able to play any games if the union, obviously there's a collective bargaining agreement. It's very long. It's probably really boring. There may be something in the collective bargaining agreement that would force the players to play, but in that agreement, it would also force the owners to pay. So I believe if the owners, for whatever reason financially, didn't want the season to go on, they would prevail. In other words, the owners meet, 32 of them, they say, there's not going to be enough revenues with empty stadiums. We don't want to do it. We're just going to cancel the whole season, and we're not going to pay any players. We're just missing out a year. I think that'd be a terrible decision on their part, but I think they have the power to do it. They really do. Alternatively, if the owners want to play and they want to go ahead, and again, the tickets, the amount people pay for tickets is face value. They don't get the upsell market. And if they look at the idea, and it's still billions and billions of dollars of profit, and they're still going to play the games, they're still going to get the television contracts, they're still going to sell the merchandise. They're missing out on two elements. They're missing out on the concessions during the games and the ticket sales, and to a small extent, the parking. And obviously it's complicated with paying for leasing stadiums. That's complicated, but I don't think it's a lot of money. So I think they have to look at the revenue they get from television, from merchandise, and from any other secondary revenue they get commercially, maybe not only on the television itself, but maybe on the website, let's say the Philadelphia Eagles, on their websites, they might be able to sell advertisement. So it's very simple. It comes down to television revenue, sponsors on the TV, other ancillary merchandise, and all that. And in my opinion, if you lump that all together, that's going to be an enormous amount of money. In paying off the players, it would not be a hardship to them. And we'll see how it goes. Spencer, your opinions.
Yeah, I'm not sure like how the numbers would work out about, you know, the jersey sales and 80,000 people going to each game. I mean, I know like there's some attendance that's really poor. Like all the Chargers players still got paid, and they pretty much still didn't have the fans that were like that were going to the Chargers games. But if you literally had no fans, I think that then the NFL, if there's no fans, should have a 10-game season. I think that teams with the best record should then play a round robin, and there should absolutely no way be a Super Bowl or any playoffs, because then you have to mark it off as a season, like a lockout season. Because if you had a Super Bowl with no fans or an NFC championship, it's so anticlimactic. And I'll be honest with you, even if the team, my favorite football team, won a Super Bowl championship and there were no fans there, you would have no bragging rights over your opponents. It would almost be like a huge asterisk. You know what I'm saying, Bruce? So
yeah,
I think that then it should be no. And by the way, the Super Bowl I doubt will happen no matter what, because the host city will never allow that to happen, because that would be the biggest screw job for the city of Tampa that booked this 5 years ago.
I don't mean to smile, but I agree with you. That would be terrible. So what would Tampa miss out on? It would miss out on everything, right? It would miss out on everything. It would miss out on
strip club money for the Super Bowl.
Well, that's the most important thing. I think Roger Goodell is going to be pulling his hair out somewhere in Westchester County. But
and Kraft
will not have access to any washy-washy.
Exactly.
But having said that, you know, it's still, I'm still going back to the medical, okay? It's possible for there to be a rapid, you know, again, we just don't know what's going to happen. There's so much money being poured right now into vaccines. And despite Bill Gates, who said we're going to wait 18 months, he's absolutely wrong. He should stick to computer chips. Fact is, when they come out with a vaccine and everybody can get vaccinated, guess what? In my opinion, it's not discriminatory. If you have your vaccination card, in other words, I know I'm getting into politics and I'm getting into healthcare,
oh my God.
But I think it's kind of interesting.
Your show, you own it.
But I think it's really interesting. The idea that you need to have a card to say that you're immune and you have the antibodies in order to move about society. That's absolutely draconian. It goes against the First Amendment, goes against the Constitution. It would never happen. That's out of an Orwell movie. However, if this vaccination was cheap or even free, which it might be, for as much money as they're throwing at small business, let's say the vaccine came out whenever, and in the Super Bowl is still in February, right? If you want to go to the Super Bowl, you have to be vaccinated, and you get this little card that said I'm vaccinated, okay? And again, let's just hypothetically say the vaccine will work pretty quick, kind of like the flu vaccine works quickly. That means everybody in the stadium, or they could fill the stadium as much as all these people with these vaccine cards. So it sounds crazy.
You even came up with another amazing solution, Dave. This is kind of, hear me out, Dave, on this solution. I watched the Big East game with Creighton and St. John's this year, Dave, and you even saw that. It was the last game on. I think that if the lower bowl, first of all, you can maybe move the game outside of the link. You could maybe move it to a college stadium or something. If a lower bowl is filled, it's gonna still kind of look like football. It's kind of like when the Metrodome, remember, Dave, in Minnesota, the Metrodome, the snow fell on the Metrodome. It fell, and they needed to play at the Gopher Stadium. They needed to play at college. How about you have a test? If a test takes 10 minutes to read, you can have a limited amount of fans in there. It'll still kind of be cool.
You're not going to do that.
Football.
You're not going to do a red. You're not going to do a red. I don't know whose idea this was, but you're going to say firstly you
would admit 2,000 people and they would register 5 hours before the game to go.
You couldn't. It would be not feasible. You couldn't check their immune status. It would be a complete disaster. Think about this.
So we're
What
gonna
was the
play
state-
with no fans. I doubt that your
Well, listen,
idea is
no,
gonna
listen,
work.
Listen. I didn't say
That's
no fans.
crazy.
My idea could work. Listen,
College football with no
it took
fans.
a
You
week.
might as well not even have that
so
home
listen,
game.
so
That's
Spence,
ridiculous.
just think about it this way: with all the smart minds in the country,
Yes.
you couldn't get the results of the Iowa caucus for a week. But you're saying you could orderly go through this vetting process in 5 hours and somehow fill a stadium with fans? That's sheer fantasy.
I've heard, though, Dave, you've heard this too, that they're creating tests where you can read a test in 10 minutes.
Well, that's true. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm just saying they wouldn't have an empty stadium. Let's have a free for all, and let's just line everybody up. And it's just like
no, it would be a
the Holocaust.
It would be a select.
It's like the Holocaust. Pull down your pants. If you're Jewish, you go to the gas chambers.
Oh, but
we're all Jewish, so it's not a derogatory statement.
I didn't mean that. And
so
we
we're
can
really
always
getting
cut. We can always cut it.
I don't think we've ever had
Dave,
we don't have to cut it.
What do you think? What do you think about? What do you think about the idea of fans and no fans at the NFL?
I think
this season.
Once again, though, even though it goes against the Constitution and you're getting into a whole other thing. If you had a card, it would kind of be similar to when you send a kid to school and they're saying, are they vaccinated or not? And
exactly. They do that every day, right? Every day of the week. You need to be vaccinated or else you're posing a health risk. You could bring polio into the University of Missouri. You're right, Dave.
Is your public school going to fund it if you can't afford it? The vaccination.
What are you talking about?
The vaccination.
In other words, I don't know the nuances of reimbursement for vaccinations. I'm not a pediatrician. I think all of us have the same. I'm as close to one as we have, but that ain't very good. As far as the reimbursement of vaccinations, you got me by the short hairs.
Yeah, I don't know all the finances behind it, but
if Dave comes up with this one, we'll really be impressed. Davey Longhorns from the University of Texas comes up with reimbursement for polio vaccines right here on Rover Sports.
He's like Fauci.
That would be.
He's like the guy. Who is he in Better Call Saul?
Saul Goodman.
No,
Jimmy McGill.
No, he's like Mike. Mike would know that if anybody. I know it's an inside joke, but Mike would know that answer.
Inside.
Or even Gus would know it. With a very matter of fact, he would know it.
That would be that would be a dream scenario for Rover Sports, some fake publicity, and then everyone starts tuning in, and then blows up.
Rumors. We're actually going to set up in our basement vaccination stations to be everybody flying to Philly. We're going to go out through our basement, and then you'll get a ticket for the Super Bowl.
That's a genius idea. Just come up with this website, free vaccinations, and you have to take the risk on, and it could work.
Can you imagine this? Can you imagine?
It's just liquid. The fact it takes 18 months is ridiculous. Like, it should take 2 weeks.
Can you imagine who would arrest us first? Would it be the federal agents, the state cops, or local police?
Trump?
That would be amazing,
Fauci.
though. We'd certainly get a lot of publicity.
Oh, yeah.
We would put Rover Sports on the map
finally. On the map.
I'm going to let you guys go. And
on the map. Oh.
I thought this was great because it was very freelance, and it was, look, let's do this again tomorrow.
Not freelance enough. No, Rover is.
Dr. Fauci's.
Dave,